Hey everyone, I'm here back with another review with the Sengoku Nobunaga, and it looks like so. Okay, so as with my last review, the review for the Sengoku Nobunaga will be structured the same way. I'll go over the construction, first impressions, the history of the company and the yo-yo, the construction, as well as the playability and the conclusion. Sengoku Nobunaga is the premier bimetal from Sengoku Yo-Yo, started by Julio Robles. So one of the first things I want to talk about the Nobunaga is the packaging that it comes in. It comes in a suit pouch, which is sort of like a pouch that jewelry comes in, but this time it's used with the Sengoku Nobunaga. The interesting thing about the suit pouch is that it actually resists dust and water from coming into the yo-yo during shipping and other things like that, and it's a really cool way to keep your yo-yo inside of it. Really neat product that Julio decided to put inside the packaging of the Nobunaga. So I recently got in contact with Julio Robles and I asked him a few questions about Sengoku and how he made the Nobunaga. Okay, so a little bit of history about Julio Robles and why he started Sengoku is that Julio basically wanted to start a yo-yo company. And he wanted to do so by making a yo-yo that would suit his needs, something that he liked in a yo-yo. Because before he started Sengoku is that he was a yo-yo collector of high-end yo-yos and whatnot. And he basically drew up the design of the Nobunaga, and he basically just ordered the prototypes and he instantly liked it. Basically when he really liked the design and how the way the Nobunaga played, that's basically how Sengoku started. If you haven't noticed by now, Sengoku is sort of like a relatively small company that started last year in April of 2015. And all of the yo-yos are named after Japanese warlords. So it has sort of like a Japanese theme to it. So like the Nobunaga, the Masamune, the Hideyoshi, the Kenshin, you know, they're all named after Japanese warlords and after Japanese history. So that's what I think is really interesting. So I also asked Julio about what he wanted to accomplish with Sengoku, and he basically just said that he wanted to sell yo-yos that he would play with. He wanted to sell high-end yo-yos at a relatively cheap price and be available to everybody. Everybody else, the Sengoku Nobunaga seemed to have a really great first impression from a lot of people who tried the yo-yo last year when the Nobunaga premiered. And that kind of pushed Julio to make more and more Nobunagas and then to eventually start his own company. Okay, so now we'll move into the construction part of the review. Okay, so the Sengoku Nobunaga sports a regular but light 6061 aluminum body and very dense stainless steel weight rings. So as you can see from the shape, it's pretty much a straight V shape, similar to how in my last review the Spudnik is sort of shaped in a W, a slight W, and a straight V shape. So it goes from a straight V shape from the step or from the response all the way up to the seam of the stainless steel weight rings, and it goes into a slight angular curve right when it goes up to the weight rings. The logo for Sengoku, that's Japanese kanji, and on the other side it's Nobunaga, again in Japanese kanji. Okay, so now moving on to the specs. The diameter is 54.05 millimeters. The width is 39.86 millimeters. And then the weight is a light 64.5 grams. The Sengoku Nobunaga comes stock with a Yo-Yo Recreation DS bearing and hard type IR pads. So it is overall a pretty, I guess you would say, a little bit less than mid-size sort of yo-yo. It is a little bit of a smaller type of yo-yo, but it's I really like the way that it plays. I'll do a couple comparisons with the Nobunaga. So here is a Shuta. So the Shuta is similar in diameter, weight, and width to the shutters. So a few comparisons. So you can see that the width is a little bit larger than compared to the Nobunaga. the width, and then the diameter as well. And so is the weight. But there is also a difference in material. This is 7075 and this is 6061. And obviously this is a bimetal, this is a monometal. And then another comparison to a yo-yo that a lot of people own or tried is the Replay Pro from Yo-Yo Factory. So you can see that there's obviously a huge difference in weight, width, and diameter, and also material. Now moving on to the playability section of my review. In a few short words, the Nobunaga plays light, fast, maneuverable, agile, and extremely stable. The Sengoku sort of has an interesting feel for a bimetal. It sort of plays light, fast, but it also has sort of a more solid and flowy feeling to it. And I think it's mostly due to the very thick weight rims that it has. And you can see how a lot of other bimetals today, such as the Pulsefire, the Weekend, or maybe even the Dropner, the weight rings are relatively thin, but it still affects the overall play of the yo-yo. While the Nobunaga, the rims pretty much affects the entire play of the Nobunaga, and therefore it has a little bit more stability and has a more powerful spin than other bimetals in its category. I would say that the Nobunaga is geared more towards faster styles, or more faster tech-oriented styles. Really, in a sense that the Nobunaga can do all the speed type tricks that you're used to, and it could really handle the long technical type of tricks that I personally like to do and that you see me doing in my videos. So I would say that the Nobunaga is sort of an all-rounder, but I would say it's a little more geared towards faster tech type styles. So here's a little shot of it spinning. As you can see, it has a really powerful spin, and it's extremely stable too, as you can tell. So if I rock it around or spin it around, it pretty much keeps its plane due to its strong gyroscopic sort of nature. Okay, so here's another view of the Nobunaga spinning. So the Nobunaga can handle pretty much every type of trick out there. It can handle grind, finger spins, tech, speed, and it's really good at horizontal due to it being sort of a V-shaped bimetal. We've reached the conclusion section of my review. So now to explain a few gripes or a few negatives that I found while owning the Sengoku Nobunaga. So you can see right here the seams between the body and the stainless steel rings. Sometimes if you smack the rings on the Nobunaga, sometimes the rims can actually shift a little bit, which can cause a lot of vibe within the yo-yo. So a negative there is that the rims are a little bit fragile, or actually I'd say a lot more fragile than other bimetals whenever you smack it against the wall or the ground really hard. If you ever shift the weight rings on a Nobunaga, you can actually just pretty much snap it back by pressing it onto a table and by pretty much resetting the place where the rims were. That's a negative that I sort of found. I've actually smacked my Nobunaga quite a few times on the wall. While it hasn't exactly shifted the weight ring, I have noticed a little bit of vibe from it being completely smooth. Right now, my Nobunaga, I'd say with it being through a lot of smacks and a lot of pretty much overall damage, I'd say it's 9.2 out of 10 smoothness, even with the ring shifting and me having to put it back into place. So that's one thing that you might want to consider when buying the Nobunaga. Moving on to the reasons why I like it. Now, one of the reasons why I really like the Nobunaga is that it has a really unique feel for a bimetal. It plays relatively light and fast, but also sports more of a solid and flowy feeling that I personally like in yo-yos, so that I can pull off a lot of my tech tricks, since that is the kind of player that I am. It pretty much has everything that you would need in a competition throw. It's light, stable, fast, and it's relatively cheap too. It's a little bit high than I would say what most people would probably go for a yo-yo, but it's still under $200, which I think is a really good price for the Nobunaga for a yo-yo in this sort of range. Why I would recommend this to people is, one, that it's light and stable for competition. So you could pretty much use a Nobunaga in competitions. Number 2 is that the Nobunaga is relatively cheap for high-end Japanese-made bimetals. As you can see, bimetals such as the Dropner or even the Anglum Japanese-made yo-yos are well over $200, which can be very much out of the ballpark for most people. While the Nobunaga sports a 6061 body, it's also relatively cheap, keeping it well under $200 for a high-grade Japanese bimetal. I just want to thank you guys for watching. Yeah, there's my review on the Sengoku Nobunaga. You guys to write down in the comments section of any comments, criticisms, or concerns you might have, or anything else that I haven't mentioned in the review. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.